Hey everybody, welcome to the October of 2020 Patreon Q&A. If you'd like to get a question answered, then please consider supporting this channel through Patreon, and that's where you can ask a question each month for us. Before we get on with the questions, not that we've already answered them and I forgot to do this at the beginning of the video and now I'm shoving it in. I have some new merch. I'm going to be doing a video on this, but I thought I'd give you a sneaky preview now before that video goes up. Thanks to 1810 Custom Designs website and stuff there on your screen. This is a friend of mine, probably British, used to be a motovlogger. He's now basically doing a company where he can make custom things to celebrate stuff. Well, actually, these are available to purchase from the link in the description. He's sending them out. I'm not sending them out. He's making them send them out. So we have these, which are little wooden laser cut things of Derek, and this isn't just a generic DRZ. You'll notice this has got all the customized parts on it that come that I did during the build series, and this doesn't say Suzuki, it says Spicy 110. These are available. They're little, they're wooden laser cut things. So he made me one up there on the wall to commemorate my 10 years on YouTube, and you could frame this yourself. We will look at selling them in frames in the future, but because people are very they like different frames and things, we thought it was better to just sell it as it is. You can either stick it on your wall blue tack, or you can stick it in a frame and do something with it, up to you. But yeah, if you're interested in one of these, there you go, available from links in the description. Another thing we have available from there are these laser engraved slate coasters. Very nice, as you can see, that's all laser engraved in, circular ones, square ones. These are cheaper if you buy them in multiples, but yeah, this is something that he is doing for me. If there's anything like this that you want, basically anything laser engraved onto, plastics, slate, wood, any of these sorts of things, whether that be for an award or just for something for your own living room present, something like that, he does pretty much anything you need with laser engraving and stuff like that. So go to the website. If you got anything you're interested in, please support him. He is a small business starting out, and he planned to do this just before everything went, yeah, in an interesting direction for us all. So I would very much, I think what he's doing is great. I think it will take off. I just think he needs to get known. But yeah, on with the video. Even though we've already done it. We've got about a lot of questions, so we're going to just get on with it and try and do this as fast as possible, I hope. But we tend to get complicated answers.
Yeah, that's true.
Answers, questions.
So the first question is from Anthony, and he says, "Hi Spicy and Reno, hope all is well. My question is, if you had to design a motorbike, what bikes would you take parts from to make it? And are you still trying to get those two pigs to kiss?"
Two pigs?
I think he means the ones that you said were like lesbian pigs.
Oh my god, that's
an old
reference.
One, isn't it?
Wow.
That's an old one.
No, I don't think those pigs exist. In fact, I think those pigs were replaced maybe twice in this time, and now there's none there.
There's no piggies now.
I would want to take the DRZ, and then I'd want to take an engine out of a MT-07 and put it in the frame, and then put the brakes on it from the M2. Basically do like a merging. Would you like to do anything to any bikes?
Not that I can think of. Right. I like my bike.
Aaron993, hey Spicy Reno, this is the first time me being a patron. What is the most extreme experience you two would love to do that's a once in a lifetime opportunity?
I don't know. I'm a bit scared of extreme things.
I would like extreme. It's very risky, I suppose. I'd like to go up in a high altitude reconnaissance plane, like a U-2 or something.
That's very interesting.
It's slightly less risky than going to space.
And it's almost going to space.
Or being in a fighter jet and experiencing.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? That might be. Actually, I don't know. I'd probably pass out, I think, from the G-force. Josh Feehan says, "I like potatoes."
Good for you. James the Naked Snake. Hey, Reese, Reno and Spicy instead of Sprino. Ha ha. So now we're going to get called Sprino and Reese.
Or Ricey.
Ricey. Oh yeah, it's Ricey, isn't it? Hope you're doing okay. So I'll be in the market for a new set of tyres by the springtime, and I'm looking at a set of Bridgestone's S22 tyres. I know some bikes do better with some tyres than others, but you don't know until you try them. This brings me on to my point. It's expensive to try a new set of tyres, really, in the event that you don't like them, isn't it? Do you wish there was a system that you could trial a set of tyres on a bike before you buy them? I know this is especially relevant when you're changing sizes of tyres, of going to different sizes, types and sizes, etc. Also, not for the Q&A. He also puts not for the Q&A, but I'll answer it anyway, so no reason not to. Are you using a Polar Pro lens on your GoPro? No. I do need to look into like ND filters and all sorts of I'm not used to this idea of being able to put attachments on. As for the tyre thing, yes, it is a problem because you would like to be able to try lots of different sizes and try out different things, but logistically, I don't know how that's going to work because...
Technically, then every single tyre that's been tested would be unusable for another person. It just wastes loads of tyres.
You wouldn't want someone's tested tyre.
No, exactly.
Plus, I don't know, I mean, even if they had test bikes, like a range of bikes, it's the difference between one tyre and another. I think you really gauge it over time, through more conditions.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, it is a good question. I don't know what a solution to that is. Does anyone know of a real world solution anyone's done with that with tyres? I mean, I guess the same applies to cars. You know, it's one of those things you have to buy them and you're going to be stuck with them for a long time unless you shell out for more.
Or if you don't like your tyre, just do an epic burnout and then it'll ruin your tyre, and then you could just say that one of your mates did it and you're back for new tyres, but it will be expensive. Bruce Groom says, hi Spicy, any views on Leximoto dropping UM? Seems a shame.
It is a shame because I think that is a great little bike. However, any views that I do have are formed on knowing stuff that not everyone knows, and I don't know whether I'm going to say it. It's nothing to do with the bike itself, it's like business. So I'm not going to say anything because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to. Alan Waters. All very sensible questions so far. I hate to disappoint, so I'm going to ask a couple. Firstly, is white or black a colour?
I guess in a way you could say no.
I think it's not, no.
Because isn't it one of them an amalgamation of all the colours and one of them something to do with
the
spectrum?
Well, white light is all colours together. Black is an absence of light. But technically, if you paint something black, it's not reflecting any of the light, but there is some light. But then what you're seeing out of it is not black, it's colours.
It's magic.
So...
Magic.
Secondly, which colour is fastest? Red. Everyone knows red's like, you put red on a car and it does an extra 10 mile an hour at least.
Robo Ninja 300 says, hey Spicy, hey Reno, hope you're both doing well. Just curious, with the whole moving up CC bike-wise, what's your opinion on moving up? For example, say from a 125 to a 1000cc, or from a 300 like myself to a 1000. Part of me wants to just go for it, and part of me thinks that I should try a 650 of the same model if possible. I've been riding for 7 years and 4 of them have been on my 300, but I've previously ridden a 500 CBR. Yeah. And I also want to try a different style of bike, like the Kawasaki Versys? Is that how you say it? Do you think it would be better to try the 650 first or just hop straight on the 1000? Sorry for the really long questions. All the best, guys. Stay safe.
Shall I answer that? Because I know the answer to this. You've been riding for 7 years. You can trust yourself not to open the throttle too much. I would only say, if you haven't ridden 1000 yet, get a test ride on one.
Yeah, you could just test ride
and
one.
See if you feel like you need that, because seriously, depending on the 1000 it is, you really can't use them on the main roads. And yes, they can be very comfortable to ride at low revs, and yes, they're very good on motorways and all of these things, but fun-wise, I generally don't like 1000s for more than an hour or two of just stupid fun. As a bike to mine, I wouldn't do it. However, your main question, do you feel like you should do progressive steps up? You're on a 300, you've been riding for 7 years, and 4 of them on your 300. You have previously ridden a 500. There, I mean, yes, it is a massive, massive difference, but I think you're beyond the point of being stupid. You're asking a question like this, so you're obviously not an idiot. I think you'll probably be okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably best what you said, to test ride 1,000
and see if you
need it, because as I said last time,
if you want that, like, you know, straight line ridiculous speed, I get it. It's fun.
Because when I did my test and I was on the 500, I realised I knew then I didn't need anything more than a 500. I think the biggest bike I'd probably ever get, if I ever got a different bike in the future, would be a 650 or something. Nothing. I probably wouldn't go higher than a 600.
It depends, because you can get some quite chilled 800s. It all depends on the style of bike. Just 1000cc is like 1000cc. I don't know if you mean like a V twin 1000 or an inline 4000 or something like that.
They're all a bit different, aren't they?
Samuel Gillard, Spicy, I'm thinking of having my 2012 FC1 Phaser wrapped rather than buying a new bike, as there's nothing wrong with it. I just fancy a change of colour. That's fair enough. What's your opinion on Rap, Spicy and Reno? Favourite comedians, comedy shows? We'll get to that one in a second. So, my opinion on Raps is they look amazing. What a cool thing to be able to just change the look of your bike. The only thing that's ever really held me off doing it is that I don't feel like either of my bikes are really well shaped for it because of the lines. And I'm not sure what the durability is like. They're probably getting better and better at it, but when something's reversible, it tends to be less hard wearing. But yeah, for a bit of fun. And if you can do it, it depends. If you can do it yourself, then it's really cheap. If you're going to get someone else to do it, it could be more expensive, but then you have all these options. Well, I don't know how expensive it is to get a bike wrap. Probably not ridiculous. Anyway, favourite comedians and comedy shows.
Oh, I'm not good at thinking on the spot.
Well, this is easier than the films one. Trailer Park Boys, very funny.
Yes.
Red Dwarf.
Yeah. I do.
Comedians,
we tend to like the same sort of comedians.
Yeah,
I would say Jim Carrey's a comedian. He's probably my favourite.
Yeah, but I think they mean stand-up comedians.
Oh, stand-up then.
I think Joe Rogan, forget all your political things, he is really funny at stand-up.
Yeah, I like him.
And a few of those other ones that are really funny.
I like some of Bill Bailey's ones. I've seen him live once. I know there's loads that we always together.
This is the problem, right? You cannot ask us a question about films or TV because
we all forget everything.
We can never remember them.
Liam Bailey says, "Hi Spicy and Reno, I hope you're doing well. I want some advice on what to do. I was recently in an accident, non-fault, and the insurance company have wrote my bike off. It's less than a year old. They've offered me £1,500 for the bike. Repairs are £800 at a garage, and I can do it myself for about £400. Should I buy the bike back and repair it as the damage is only cosmetic? The bike is a Leximoto LXR 125. Many thanks. Keep up the great work."
If the bike is only a year old, well, they're going to offer you current market value. Well, first thing you can do is you can argue how much they offer you. Just because they offer you an amount, you don't have to accept that. In fact, when my first videos on YouTube were repairing Betty and getting it back on the road after it got written off and I got rear-ended. Basically, they offered me a very poor amount of money for the bike, and I said, sorry, that's not enough. And they said, well, you need to prove it's not enough. So I said, fine. And I went online and I found lots of closed sales on like eBay and stuff for the bike, same sort of mileage. And there was a couple of £100 more on all of them. And they went, all right, fair enough, and gave me a couple of £100 more. I bought the bike back from the insurance company, did the repairs myself, put it through its MOT, done. So if you can do the work yourself and you can get the parts cheaper than getting a garage to do it, it's not a problem it being written off and you putting it back on the road, although it would technically, you would have to say to people, you know, it was written off as a cat, whatever, before. That will affect the value in the future, but yeah, your call. Or you can try and argue that it's only a year old. If it was brand new when you got it, if it's only a year old, that they might want to be giving you more money. Because if you go to buy one at that cost, you're not getting a warranty on it, and you're not getting all those things, and you can argue those have value, opposed to you having to go and buy a second-hand bike. That's what I'd say to that. Julian L, have you ever thought of Ed March style adventure, and what do you think of the C90? I wish I'd bought one a few years ago. The price has gone through the roof now. What bike do you think is cheap now, less than £1,000 or so, but has potential to be a future classic? I'm not even entirely sure who Ed March is. I have a feeling that might be the guy from like the motorcycle show or something.
I'm not sure. I recognise the name, but I can't. Really
Sorry.
think.
I'm just going to plead ignorance there. I don't know. I do live under a rock. So.
I think we both do.
And what do I think of the C90? The C90 is a classic. There's many of them, and yeah, I have noticed how much the price has gone up because someone was talking about one, and I was like, "How much you got to be Oh my god!" So yeah. What bike do you think is a cheap? It's cheap now, less than £1,000 or so, but potential. I mean, I assume you mean of any CC.
Yeah.
Less than £1,000, a really haggard DR. This is the problem. They don't get a bad enough one. It's very difficult to pick what bike's going to be a future classic. I mean, you'd never say that the DR's a classic, but I feel like it is going to become a classic because it's the last carbed DR single cylinder, that Suzuki sold in the UK.
And it's still popular, and people still want them.
I don't know. It's a very good question. I think there's a few possibly no, because the thing is, every bike I think of, I'm like, yeah, but a new model came out the year after. It's not like it was a standalone, but then again, like you say, a classic like a 68 Mustang or something. There was still a 69 and a 70 and a 71, I assume. Maybe they just got it right that year. I don't know. Good question, though. Look who's asking a question.
It's the bin! The bin says, "Hi, Spicy and Reno. I got modelled up with the Q&As, so here's my question for this month. As you, Spicy, are taller than your average person, is there any sports bike that you have found comfortable? Asking because I'm of a similar height and looking to buy a second bike next year. And part 2 of my question is cereal classed as soup?" Yes.
We've discussed this. Cereal is soup. Yeah, cereal is soup.
And if it's like the cereal itself can be the croutons.
Yeah, the ones that aren't. So yeah. So yes. As for a comfortable sports bike, the most comfortable sports bike I can think of that I've ridden, true sports bike, is the Suzuki GSXR 1000R, but the non-double R one would be the same, I think. It's quite big for a sports bike, and because of that, you've just got a bit more space on it. And it was I found it very comfortable. And it didn't seem to have the knee angle's not too much. I think they have made that to be a comfortable bike for, 45-year-old guys that like buying thousands. Well, the back and the knees are starting to go. I'm being honest. You look at the demographic of the people that buy the bikes, but that's not to say that you shouldn't get them. I'm not trying to put them down by saying that. I'm just saying.
If you're insulting him, you're insulting yourself.
Well, yeah, but I'm only 34 and I have to worry about things that apparently a 45-year-old needs to think about. Right, Mephisto. Hello, Sprino. As 125cc bikes don't have the ABS as long as they have combined linked braking systems, a lot of them do have it combined, yes. Basically, cheap 125s have it combined. More expensive ones, you've got the ABS. If you were to make your combined braking system into 2 separate braking systems, as bigger bikes have, would it still pass this MOT? Yes, the answer is yes. You can convert a linked brake system to a standard brake system, and it is completely fine for the MOT, because that is just a regulation of the manufacturer, like having to have the number plate behind the rear wheel on the big donkey dick, as I call it. That is a legal requirement, but you know that you just take it off and put on a tail tidy and it's fine. So yes, you are allowed to deactivate. Well, it's like the R125 and the bikes like that have just got that. They know people are going to take it off, so they're like, why just stick a metal plastic thing like this that's like... But yeah, it's absolutely fine to do that if you do it safely. The reason I've never sort of done a video on how to do it or anything like that is because I don't want to encourage people to try it and end up with no brakes. So if someone is out there going thinking, oh, I can get rid of my link brake system, yes, you can. Consult a professional.
Sponding D says, hi, Spicy and Reno. I hope you're both well. What is your guilty pleasure?
Plants. Your obsession with plants.
I have become newly obsessed with plants.
It's not a guilty pleasure, though.
No, it's not. It's a full-on unguilty, unapologising pleasure of plants. I don't know. What did I can't think. Something that you like.
It generally has to be something that most people dislike that you like.
That you like and you're like,
pickles.
Don't really like that.
Does pickles class as a guilty pleasure?
No, because a lot of people like
I don't
pickles.
feel guilty about it in the slightest.
I feel like there are things that I have, and I just cannot think of them off the top of my head.
We're really not very good at this Q&A thing,
No. Ask us questions once a month. We won't remember anything. We don't know anything. Didn't the other day I say something was a guilty pleasure? And you were like...
Yeah,
no,
but you could
it's
also
not.
say like 80s ballads.
Oh, yes. 80s ballads. I love them, but I'm not really guilty pleasure for me.
Yeah.
I love the cheesy music.
Daniel Boddington, hey Spicy and Reno, hope you are both well. Would you consider wearing front flip helmets or do you prefer full face helmets?
No, I don't like them.
I've had a flip. I had a Nolan flip. It's up on the wall up there.
Oh yeah.
I like the benefit of being able to open your visor if you're in shops and stuff like that. People should be aware that some of them have got a P or a non-P, which basically means you can ride them with the flip up. Some of them are only legal to be ridden with the flip down. They tend to be quite heavy. That's something. So no, I have nothing against them as long as it's a good helmet with a good lock-up system on the chin. But I think generally, just tell people to get over it and leave your helmet on and just have a lighter normal helmet. I mean, actually, that is something that COVID's sort of increased now because the helmet's become a legal piece of, a face covering. I've gone into some shops I wouldn't normally leave it on just as an experiment and not had a thing said to me, and I'm like, I can't wait for COVID to be over because I can just go, what? It wasn't a problem before, why is it a problem again now? The only place that's insisting I take my helmet off still is, well, probably a bank if I go in a bank.
Yeah.
Totally understandable. Yeah. Post office have also requested the same thing. This I don't entirely follow because they're in a locked glass box, they know me, and I'm buying stamps.
Give me all your stamps.
And I'm like, I went in there one time and I was like, oh, can I just? And they were like, oh, you need to take your helmet off. And I'm like,
what if you're like,
why?
What if you're posting some kind of like illegal?
Well, no,
thing?
that's what it's for. It's because they need it for if you're posting something. They would need to prove that the face is the who sent it. I was buying stamps. It's really annoying and dumb, to be honest with you, but it is what it is.
You need ID to buy stamps. Ivor George says, hi Spicy and Reno. Gorgeous shoulders, by the way, Reno. Thank you. I'd love to hear both of your experiences with sealant black strips on the roads, particularly when they're wet. Have you ever had any moments? Do you take particular care? Are you aware of any particular tyres that work best? For example, when braking, cornering, accelerating on these strips.
I know what you're talking about. I can't say I've ever seen them in big enough patches. They're normally about 2 inches wide and just, it looks a bit like lightning in places when they're fixing. I've never ever even considered them to be a grip issue. But then I don't worry about white lines. I mean, you should worry about white lines, but I don't tend to have any problems in the wet because I ride for the conditions.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. As long as you ride carefully when it's raining, you don't speed around.
The only time that I find problems in the wet would be if you have wet leaves, but that's wet leaves. If the wetness is frozen. Took her a minute.
That's what you said.
White lines pulling away from junctions. If you filter to the front, your back wheel tends to be sat on a white line and it can spin up going right. But otherwise, I'm kind of no. I've never really had a problem with them. And as for tyres that work best, if you mean on those lines particularly, I have no idea. If you mean what tyres work best, it depends on the time of year. If you're in the summer, for braking, cornering, accelerating in the dry, you want something that's close to a slick, or closer that way. In the winter, you still want something with a much heavier tread to get the water out of the way. So it's a little bit dependent on what you're trying to get it to do. But yes, there is a tyre that suits everyone's needs. Ivor George, follow-up question. Would you consider a part 2 to lock picking episode featuring a bike lock or two and your current bikes? Reno, your bike has hiss, mine too. Do you think it's immune to a lock picker? Actually, I think it's immune. Right. I have picked the locks on my DR, and I've done a video on that. I have not done the XJ6. The reason I've not done the XJ6 is because that's actually got an anti-picking ring in it. Doesn't mean you can't pick it. It just makes it 10 times more difficult, and no one's going to do it anyway. No, you can't pick the locks. There's no point picking the locks in a hiss system because it won't, even if you turn it on without the chipped key, it's not going to do anything. As far as I know how that system works, so that's not a problem. Also, if you want to see bike locks being picked, watch The Lockpicking Lawyer or Bosnia Bill. They're both experts in it, and they will tell you the truth of it. So, not my place to answer that one.
B Ferrari says, hello Spicies. I tend to ride in the wet like I would drive a car when it's icy and snowing. How does a noob gain confidence to ride in the wet and not feel like you're casually walking through a fish market in flip-flops?
You will never ride at the same speed as you do in the dry, or the same confidence or the same lean angles or anything like that in the wet. However, you don't want to be prohibitively slow while you're doing it, because that makes you even more dangerous, because people are going to get frustrated and just start driving around you and at you. Generally, just practice.
Yeah.
And make sure you've got good tyres and stuff like that. May Crutch, High Space in Reno. Normally it's you that gets to read these, aren't it? How are you both doing? We are, well, I'm
good.
all right.
I'm good.
I was wondering if either of you have ever been lucky enough to win a competition or contest. I once finished second in a local Rectum of the Year contest. I knew I would win when the next participant bent over and set the water sprinklers off inside the community centre. It was a real mess. I continue to be stunned by your awesomeness, your brilliant pair. Cheese out. P.S. Do you think I'm funny? We've always thought you're funny.
Jesus Christ.
I won a contest when I was younger to design your own dinosaur, and I won a free ticket to the Natural History Museum in London when they used to charge. That's how old I am.
I got third in... I don't think I've ever won any I feel like I might have done, but I can't think. But I did get a little... I had to design a pet. My own like imaginary pet, and that got featured in a book from schools around the UK.
So you designed an imaginary pet,
yeah,
and I designed my own dinosaur.
Yes, I didn't win anything. I wasn't first, but I got featured in the book.
Well, I didn't get first. I just got a free ticket.
It was a giraffe crossed with a snake. It was basically a snake with giraffe things on its head.
I don't remember mine. It was about 30 years ago.
I actually have it still. I have the book with it in it. Error 101. Or says, hi Spicy and Reno, been enjoying the content, especially the build series, thanks for all your work.
That bodes well for lockdown.
I've been wanting to get a motorcycle licence for a while now, but I haven't been in the position to. I've already done my theory and was wondering if it'd be smarter to do the CBT, lessons and tests together, probably next spring, or if I could get away with doing the CBT now and then save for the lessons and test. There's no need or benefit to getting a CBT now, and I don't want to, and I won't have a 125. I just want to try riding sooner rather than later. That said, if you think that waiting to do both around the same time is more prudent, I'll listen. Thanks again for your hard work. Hope you're well and safe.
I honestly think you could do it either way.
Yeah, you can do it either way.
It just means, well, when you go to do your full license, whatever license you're doing, you say A2 or A?
It doesn't say.
When you do your license, they're going to want to start you off on a bigger bike anyway, so you're going to need to learn that if you've already ridden a 125 and kind of got your head around that, that might be better to do that earlier than trying to do it when you're doing it in your whole test. Because say you need an extra day to get to the grasp of one aspect of it, it then crushes everything else together in the time frame you've had. So yeah, I would say it's up to you entirely. I understand if it's going to be the spring, like the coming spring you're going to do it, get booked in, do a CBT, you might, just enjoy it. Jake Francis asks, hi Spicy and Reno, I hope you are both well. Recently I have been looking into getting my first helmet camera. Is there anyone that you recommend that isn't too high end and isn't rubbish? Lol. Many thanks for the advice, Jake. This is the ongoing problem.
Ongoing debate.
But you say you just want a helmet camera, so you don't want audio. So I would say, in an ideal world where they actually work and they don't have any problems, some of the drifts are quite good for that because they do have particularly long battery life. However, they can be unreliable, and I don't want to promote drift really. But they do, if the camera's reliable, the little drifts can be absolutely fantastic for it because they get really good battery life. However, an older GoPro, something like that. The thing is, you don't want to spend a lot of money, and even the like knockoff GoPro versions. There are some cameras out there, but if it's just for insurance purposes, your list of requirements are a lot less than what I look for in a camera. But yeah, I hate to say it, a reliable drift, but don't do it.
Paul Piggott says, hi Spicy and Reno, hope you're keeping well. I asked last time about going from a Leximoto 125 LXR to a Leximoto 380 LXR as I was doing my Mod 2 full A licence, which I'm happy to say I passed that day. Well done. As you said, a second-hand bike would be a better value for money. Can you recommend any bikes, as I'm 6'2", similar size to yourself? I would be using the bike to commute to work and for fun on my days off, as I live in the Wirral near Chester, so North Wales is my playground. Stay safe, you two, and love these vids.
Now, obviously, when it comes to buying second-hand bikes, assuming you are buying a second-hand bike, the bike itself is very dependent, as in the condition of the bike itself. So you are going to need to make sure that the example you're looking at is a good one and not a lemon, which of course is a tricky process sometimes. However, I'm thinking, what comes to my mind when you say that, you're 6'2", so you're a bit taller than most, you're in Wales, it's wet a lot, you've got a lot of up and down, twisty.
Country roads.
I'm feeling something like a V-Strom or the Versys or or a Tracer or
some kind of
the
adventure
MT Tracer
bike,
would be a good one. Or the Tanneray, that's more off-road orientated, but I think one of the adventure-y middle size. I think also you're talking about second hand, so you want to go for a bit older. So there is things like the older V-Stroms, and there's also people in the comments make some suggestions. But my opinion is something middle ranged and adventure orientated stroke road adventure style, if you know what I mean. That's what I reckon. But yeah. Also something you love. I have recently done, between you asking this question and me doing this, I have done that video talking about picking the perfect bike for you, which probably has some help in it. Nikki Downs. Hi Reno and Spicy. No question, just thanks. I passed my CBT this week and your videos really helped. Thank you so much.
Aww.
Fantastic. Well done. I'm really glad that they could help. I've literally only today been filming another video to try and help people get onto two wheels. It has become my mission in life to make as many people ride bikes as possible.
Bike army.
Well, yeah, because more people there are on bikes, the better it is for all of us. Yes. In every single way I can
traffic,
think.
The environment.
Cost of things, availability of products, everything. It's better if there's more of us on bikes. So that's what I'll continue trying to do.
Mark Buchanan says, hi Spicy and Reno, thanks for answering my last question. Also getting my surname right.
Well, that's easy because we questioned if you were related to the Buchanan.
See, I'm lost because I don't think
Art
I know
Attack.
That. Oh, him!
Yes.
Oh my god, I did not know that was his name. I forgot. Anyway, he says, wanted to ask if either of if either of yous have high-sided before as it just happened to me a couple of days before this comment. Oh my gosh. Thank you. P.S. Sorry for my bad grammar spelling.
Don't worry, my grammar and spelling is also terrible.
Oh my gosh.
I've never... Right. I've crashed in these methods. I went into a fence. A car went up my butt while I was stationary. And he said my brake light wasn't working. And I'm like, that's because I was stationary. And it was just on rather than being, he didn't get I wasn't moving because that's how little attention he was paying. It was fantastic. And then the big crash when I went into a car pulled out me, blah, blah, blah. I have never, touch wood, I have never crashed a bike through, other than the fence one, through a mistake through losing traction or something like that. So no, I've never high-sided a bike, I've never low-sided a bike, I've never really crashed bikes. I have either got incredibly lucky or I've just slowly built my skills over the years on the 125 for 7 years on Chinese nylon tyres. And I mean, I've had some big moments on bikes, but I always seem to deal with it.
You have very fast reflexes, though.
Nearly stuck a S1000RR into a embankment, but
I have low side with 4 and a roundabout.
That was the first time I rode it as well. I just went to a corner too quick.
Oh gosh.
But I knew what I didn't panic. I didn't brake. I just leant the thing over and just round that corner.
And that's kind of what you're meant to do, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Did I high side when that cyclist bumped? I bumped bars with that cyclist?
No. When you bumped bars with the cyclist, you just sort of
went like this.
Your legs went up. My mental picture is this: you're going along, and he basically comes over and bumps into you. You don't bump into him.
Yeah,
you go to go round him, and he goes to pull across the road. Just didn't look and basically cycle straight into you. But he didn't zoom across. He kind of merged across.
It was very slow, and his handlebar just did that.
And he wasn't paying any attention, and he just bump. But what you then did is that knocked your handlebars like this. You tried to correct, which started chucking bike side to side. Your legs went like this in the air, and then the bike kind of low-sided under you, and you were kind of on top of it, and then the bike was away from you. It was very elegant in ways.
Oh, thank you. I'm an elegant crasher.
But
I have low-sided on a roundabout in the wet. I went into a dip like this. It was filled with water. I was leaning the bike, and I was like, this is going a bit further than it normally goes, and it was a very comfortable crash. It was the most comfortable crash I've ever had. And the other times I got thrown off when I hit a rock and accelerated by accident like this and then fell off.
Yeah, but if you're doing less than 15 miles an hour, I call it a drop.
And that was a drop. That was funny. I got covered in mud. And then the other time was when I hit the curb and did like a flip.
4658 Guten Abend, Herr Fern. Spicy is German. Why are you trying to get me to speak German?
I don't know any German.
I'm planning on packing in my dog shit 9-5 job. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And going into business as a bike garage.
Ooh.
This is not real business advice, but all I can say is there are a lot of people getting into bikes at the moment because of COVID and everything. I do think it's not necessarily a bad thing. And also, I'm going to keep reading your questions and shut up. My brother-in-law is registered as an MOT tester, and I'm a dab hand with the spanners. And I mean, I could use my career experience as a fabricator welder to build custom bikes for customers. Would you two consider popping in to see us when we started up? And have you any advice for how to get our name out there? Dank and pass.
Danke.
Oh, danke and pass. Oof, dick, oof.
What does this even mean?
It's German. Thank you.
And of something. I'm just assuming it sounds similar to English, so it must get something. I don't know.
I know a little bit. I know a little bit of German, but not that much.
The only German I know is Guten Tag.
Where are you? You're not in Germany, are you? I'm currently having a confused moment between a private message I had from someone that might have been you, and you were definitely not German. But if you are German, if you're in Germany, probably not. But if you were local, yes. As for getting your name out there, I need to know where you are. But let's talk about it. Right, so the very last question comes from
Panda Copyright. He says, "Hey, Spicy and Reno. How does one park or deal with anxiety about parking a bike, like at a shop or at work? Is it kind of like find a security camera and park near them, or carry around a chain and chain it up like a bicycle?
For me, where I live, I have no fear of leaving my bike unlocked. I'll be honest with you, unlocked 99% of the time, because the bike is outside the shop I'm in and I normally can see it. Plus, you know, it's quite a busy area. People don't tend to, there's not a lot of crime in this area.
No, there's not really.
However, if I take my bike to Portsmouth, I take a big ass lock and I lock that thing to the biggest immobile object I can find, and then I put another lock on the thing. Basically, yes, the answer is if you have anxiety about bikes, it depends on how long it's going to be there for or where you are. But if you can chain it to something, that's a great thing to do. If you can park it next to a bike under CCTV, if you can park it under CCTV, lock it up, and next to a bike that has no locks, great, because they'll steal their bike rather than yours. So, no, seriously, that's like the whole thing like with a bear. Yeah. You don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun the other person.
Well, I suppose, yes.
I'm afraid this is the game we have to play. But yeah, if you got any anxiety about it, if it's an extended period of time, locks, and bombs. Lots of bombs. Do you remember my security video?
Your grenade.
Like, you put the lock, then I've cluster bomb now.
No.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you'd like to ask a question for the next one, I'm going to be posting that post very, very soon onto Patreon, probably before this video goes up, even to Patreon. So you can ask your questions there, but you can join Patreon, and up until nearly the end of the month, ask a question and it will get answered in next month's thing. I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching.
Oh.
Why are you over there now?
I don't know. I somehow zoomed off.
What's going on with the camera?
I don't know. Did we move it? I think it just moved just then.
What?
I have no idea what just...
Something weird's going on the camera. We're confused. Anyway, oh, maybe it's because I was like this. Yes, I think it's because it's just moving. It's sorry if this is a bit sort of like, you know, fish-eyed.
I look massive now.
But the point is, this is the easiest way for us to film this, and most people who watch this don't watch it; they listen to it, and hopefully this is good enough. You know, I think there is a place for very high production, but stuff like this doesn't need it. I watch millions of videos like this, like from like Forgotten Weapons and In Range, and I rarely watch the videos.
To them.
Anyway, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed, because I want to put a play button up there soon. There is a space for it. I'll have to do a little bit of moving. Anyway, and if you'd like to help out and ask a question, join Patreon.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'll catch you in videos soon. Sorry this past week, if you're this far into this video, you probably don't care, but sorry this past week's been a bit slow, but Rena had a week off work, and I just tried to do minimal work so I could spend as much time with her as I could, and it's been great, but I'm now ready to rip the bike apart. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.